There was definitely a turning point at some point where I went, hang on, there's a decent amount of people watching. I saw an opportunity there, and here we are, basically. It's just grown from there, yeah. So my name's Rod, but I guess better known as RoKKiT KiT on YouTube. But RoKKiT, I guess, was a sort of a nickname that I had from some mates at school, just because RoKKiT Rod. And then it's sort of stuck through various facets of my life, and now, yeah, it's stuck with the YouTube channel for some reason as well, yeah. Yeah, no, I think we were waiting for weather originally. We were trying to get this trip together and we were trying to lock it in, but we were a bit nervous about what was happening. We had a cyclone just move down, and luckily it basically moved off our coast and sort of cleared up pretty quickly for when we wanted to do our trip. Since then, I guess the plan was find that weather window and get a big Spanish. So we stuck down into New South Wales. Yeah, it's being on the border, it's a perfect sort of in-between spot where we can sort of duck up and down the coast. The plan was great in theory, but we were struggling to get that big fish that I guess we were originally focused on. But we got some nice little surprises along the way. That GT was pretty special. Just hunting for bait, thought we might as well just put a livey out. So we just only had those pomfrets, so not the most ideal live bait, but it's always good to have something out there while you're mucking around looking for better baits. And then this guy's just cruised up, and yeah, not a bad sort of start to the morning. It's not a monster, but definitely won't turn my nose up at him. Look, we do get them, a lot of the time when you get them as bycatch, you know, that area, like a lot of the time they're actually like quite a bit bigger, maybe double the size of that one. Made that day pretty satisfactory. But then since then, we've just been focusing on getting that big mackerel, and we want to do a cook up as well, because that's obviously a big part of my channel. And it definitely became a little bit of a struggle, to be honest. Yeah, we put some hard yards in yesterday for very little success. And then the word got out that there was some spotties back closer to where I live, actually. So we took the advice, we sort of went straight out and managed to come through with an early morning spotty. It was too easy, in fact. It's happening. Sort of gave up on the Spanish because, yeah, it was proving to be pretty tough a bit further down the coast. So we thought we'd try the local and we'll just come up and give it a crack, and it looks like they are here. Bit of casting around. We're sort of just looking for blips on the sounder. Yeah, he's not a big one, but you know, he's illegal. And yeah, that's breakfast. Well, we weren't on the water very long, that's for sure. Like, it seemed crazy, like, that's what we were talking, we were saying, this is crazy that we're gonna leave these fish to come in so quickly, but I guess it just made sense. And yeah, make the most of eating a delicious fish. It just seemed to make sense. It's amazing, like spotties are a gift. Like it's almost not fair how good they are, because it's the yield, it's all flesh pretty much. Very little bones, super easy to deal with, and like different cuts, they just fall off basically. It's too easy, yeah. So I used chopsticks. A mate of mine made these down in Sydney. And a lot of people say, why am I using chopsticks? It's because they're basically tongs, except they don't rust. And I can just shove them in the sand. They're super easy to clean. So a lot of people ask why I use chopsticks for everything now. It's like, I've been through too many pairs of tongs. Like, it's not always about catching or bagging out on lots of fish anyway. And like I guess that comes through my channel. Like if I've got one fish and the goal was to catch a fish and we want to do a cook up, and we got our fish, so it was perfect timing. The whole experience of being out on the water was amazing. It was a cracker day, like beautiful sunrise. We got our fish, and we had a goal to come back and do a cook up, and we came in and we achieved it. It was so great. But I've always been very upfront about being supported by Penn, but that came about simply because on the kayaks I was breaking so many spin reels. Like it got to the point where I must have gone through hundreds of spin reels in those first couple of seasons on the kayak. And then Penn just happened to bring out a spin fisher. I think it was the Spin Fisher 5. And then I'm just lucky that over time, so the spin fisher was great, and then I got support from Penn and they were helping me out with that particular reel, and they could see that I was using the Penn gear originally. But then what happened is I just got super lucky, and Penn just happened to develop the perfect reel for me, which was the Slammer 3. It came out, it burst onto the ICAST scene, and the seals were so good that The spin fisher could last a few seasons, but the slammer, I was struggling to ruin it. Like I was sold on the reels then, and then since then, it's just progressed. They've brought out more slammers, and then now they've brought out this fancy guy here, which is the Authority, and that's just, for me, that's the game changer. On the Authority, the water sealing racing, it's out of control. Like on the slammers, I think it's IPX6, and I'm struggling to break them, but this is IPX8. So seals are unbelievable. Well, this setup here has got a slammer rod on it. So obviously the slammer, because it was such a good and solid product, they've been bringing out more slammer-based products, and obviously it's nice to have a full kit that matches together. So the slammer rod is a recent, like I've acquired it recently, and it's doing a great job. Yeah, well, I first started uploading videos on YouTube just as a bit of a muck around, just to show mates, you know, the fish I was catching. I just moved up to the Gold Coast on a whim, didn't really know what to do, and I stumbled across a couple of guys. I was doing more spearfishing based stuff, and there's not a lot of rock work to go off, and I didn't really know much of the area, had no mates doing it as well, so it all felt a little dicey coming in off Kingscliff once, and I looked and I saw some guys setting up a kayak, and I was like, that seems like a much better way to do this. I don't even know why I didn't think of it before, but went out, bought myself like a $320 BCF special, and went out and I whacked my first spotted mackerel, like straight off the bat. And I got another one, but I had it on a 2,500 reel because I was so undergunned, I didn't know what I was doing. And it just spooled me instantly. And then the 4,000 reel got it in. And then from that point on, I was pretty much hooked. And then I wanted to know more about it, so I went to the forums, and they were doing trip reports. And the trip reports, a lot of the new guys, the new thing was to do video trip reports. So I thought, oh, I've always wanted to do that. Having a graphic design background, I thought, I've always wanted a reason to edit something. And this gave me the perfect opportunity to start editing, showing off fish to mates, just uploading on YouTube, and the forum sort of kick-started the channel, I guess. And then there was definitely a turning point at some point where I went, hang on, there's a decent amount of people watching. I saw an opportunity there, and I talked to my wife and friends about it, and then half of them would just glaze over. I had one mate that was 100%, mate, you got to do that, you just should focus on it. You never know where it could go, and just kept hacking away, and next thing you knew, like more and more people watched, and more and more. And then we started doing other trips off, like not yak based or not kayak based, and then yeah, and here we are basically. It's just grown from there, yeah. Like the journey of boats, and it's something that I've been really aware of on the channel, because obviously I started as a kayak fishing channel, so I still do the kayak. I love the kayak I'm on. Like I'm on this beautiful stealth kayak. It's like the bee's knees of offshore kayaks. Like it's a stealth pro fisher, they call it, but it's carbon fiber. Like for what I do, having to punch through surf, it's like you can't get a better kayak basically. So that's always going to be part of the channel because I enjoy it so much, and that's what kicked off the love again of the water. Like I guess fishing, growing up doing it, like my dad was an avid spearfisher, but he also had a boat. He had like a Kuntrex Fishmaster he had, and that was a cool boat, like a half cabin, and we'd get around on that. But the kayak was obviously where it kicked off for the YouTube channel, so I've always been aware of the progression and not going too big too quickly. And I like small boats. I think that's why I guess I went with the Staby, just simply because it's still a small boat. I can still do the kind of trips I've always done, except it gives me a little bit more range, a little bit more scope. I did a little bit of hunting around, and I came across 2 videos, and one of which was by the captain, and it was the 1410. And I just looked and I went, that's the boat for me, that's the one. Tiller steer still, I love the idea of still keeping tiller, because as much as steering was fun and practical in some sense, I don't really like it as much as having the tiller. I like that instant sort of feedback, I like the responsiveness of it. But then as I did the research, I realized that they didn't make that boat anymore. I was like, oh no, like you had to go second hand. But then I stumbled across on their website the 1450, and then I was sold. Like I researched a lot of other boats as well. It's basically the little boat that can do big boat stuff. It's the stability, you know, the safety aspect with the pontoons. It just ticked every box, and it's not even such a different sort of, with the pontoons, it's not so different from having a inflatable with the pontoons as well, and that I love the safety aspect of those, you know. So ticked all the boxes, and so yeah, I'd put the order in, yeah. So basically got it decked out with every every extra you could get. So the paintwork, I love the paintwork, and it definitely makes the boat look pretty special. The decking, the U-deck decking, which is great. Like, I'll definitely get U-deck again, or any, like, that decking just is great on the feet and makes the boat look just mint. Electronics wise, we went, I got a Simrad unit, so we're running the NSS 12 and it's the Evo 3, and I'm loving it. Yeah, it's a bigger screen than I've ever been used to, so it's pretty fancy for me, yeah. So we went with the 40 horsepower Yamaha, and it's doing a great job. Like, even just this trip now, we like fully loaded, extra camera gear, extra fuel, and 3 guys on board, and it's still getting up on plane, no problems. And yeah, we're zipping around, no problems. It's surprisingly quick still, and it's amazing on fuel. Like, we've done a fair bit of fishing and just zipping around, getting shots and cutting laps, and I think we barely got through a tank. So I reckon on that last island trip I did recently, I sort of put it through its paces, and I had the new prop and the trim plate on, and I covered a good I was getting at least maybe 80 to 90 Ks out of one tank, and that's a 24 litre tank. And I did look at the instruments and tried to get a bit of a gauge on where I was at, and I think we were chewing about 7 litres or 7.2 litres an hour, maybe 4,200 revs. So if you tuck around that, like that sweet spot of about 4,000 revs, and you're just sort of planing nicely, you know, you're going to get big Ks. You could almost get 100 Ks out of a tank. Min cutter up front, that's a new addition, and for me that's like game-changingly amazing. I've never had a trolling motor before. I've only ever played around with a few on mates' boats, like very briefly, so I never really understood just how, like, in my mind I knew how good it'd be, but now that I'm using it, it's amazing. The numbers on YouTube would be around, I think we're probably at maybe just under 500,000 subscribers, 400 and something thousand. Yeah, look, I've reached a level where the channel is sustainable and we can do it as a job. But you know, I'm rapt if I get 500,000 views. But you know, we don't always base a video. You never know what's going to do the heavy lifting on the channel as well. So you just got to keep grinding at it, and just hopefully something comes along that sort of sparks up the interest of the rest of the people watching, and YouTube just decides to run with it, basically. As much as people might not believe it, like I'm earning, you know, like a decent wage, but I'm not earning that young blood's money as such, you know what I mean? It's not like that. There's plenty of guys just, you know, balling with their fancy Land Cruisers. Unfortunately, we're just not quite at that level. Some standout videos would have to be like those first solo camping adventures. Hitting the islands, like I did a few and they did all right, but then there was one where I think I got stuck on the island. It was like teeming with mosquitoes, like an unbelievable amount of mosquitoes. So half the trip was just me trying to escape from them, which I think people enjoyed, watching me struggle. That's definitely something that people like, watching adversity, or just someone struggling with a situation, then trying to overcome it, or just dealing with it and just sucking up and just copping it sweet sometimes as well. Because sometimes there's no dealing with it, it's just, you just got to cop it. I think maybe the catch and cooks are also they're pretty interesting to people, and they're heavy lifters on the channel. Yeah, family, like that's definitely always a part of my videos, and it's important for me to keep it real and try and make it real to life of what's going on. And my family is such a big part of that. And it's everything, basically. My life revolves around what they're doing and getting the kids done and fixed and happy. It all revolves around that, so why not include them in the videos? And my wife's name's Twan, and she's very supportive of the channel. She's always allowing me to go on these trips to get away, like to be able to go and like do like a 3 to 5 day trip and just take off up the coast and disappear. It's pretty special to have someone that'll support that and let me do it. And obviously when the channel got to a stage where it was my job, I'm throwing out the excuse that it's my job as well. So, you know, we can play that a little bit, but it's, you know, we got to play ball just right to make it all work. And, you know, she's very understanding when it comes to that. I have caught my son showing the play button you get, but they sent out that YouTube play button. I've caught him showing that off to his mates, and they were pretty impressed with the idea that I was doing that for a job, that's for sure, yeah. Like as a family together all the time, like to my wife, we say, I don't even know what I would be doing. I don't even know what people do if they're not going to the ocean today and going to the beach and enjoying the beach or the water. Like, and I guess that's just, I guess I'm spoiled because I've been able to grow up near the water, so I'm so used to it. But it's such an important part of my life in general that I just can't imagine not being near the ocean. And just the bigger trips I do, the more humbling it gets, and the more I realise that you're just a very, very small fish in a very big pond. And I don't know, just the sense of adventure like it can bring is just amazing. So I just can't imagine not having it as part of my life.